Okay, so today is the lunar eclipse day, and also it's new moon day. And the eclipse it's just now started. So anyway, I came across recently a website on how to scry with a bowl, and I want to try it tonight. Because I figure, it's a good night astrologically to try it with the eclipse and the new moon. So what I have done is this right here underneath is just a plain black bowl, and I have sat that on top of a Seed of Life crystal grid, which it's going to take, can I lift? This is so, no, I can't lift it. There's so many crystals in this bowl. But this is, I'll take a picture of it in a little bit. It's a Seed of Life crystal grid, and then let's see. So I put inside of this the scrying bowl. This is my crystal bowl that has angel feathers, or, well, they're actually bird feathers, but I think that they're angel sign. So there's a bunch of different feathers here, a big black one and a little black one. And this beautiful feather, and look at this thing. I think this is a goldfinch feather. But it's got feathers and then a whole bunch of different crystals. A big amethyst and a selenite heart and various crystals. And so I've charged it up for about 10 days in here. And then what I'm going to do now is pull out specific crystals and just put them in the bowl. And then tonight I will try, I've got some water that I made on the full moon. So I've got moon water that I'm going to put in the bowl, because what you do is you look at the surface of the water to do the scrying. I've tried scrying before without much success, so I'm hoping this time I have better luck. Okay, so here's just the plain bowl, and this is the Seed of Life grid. So this is a good grid for initiating new beginnings because it contains all possibilities. And basically what happens when you use crystals with a grid, or really anything, light, candles with a grid, it amplifies the energy and the intentions. In whatever it is, you're using the grid for. So I'm going to put the bowl back here in the center of the grid, and I'm getting ready to fill it up with the crystals that align with what it is I seek to vision quest with tonight in the scrying. Okay, so I've gone through and selected the crystals that I want to use, and I'm going to start with the rose quartz, the pink quartz. And I've recently figured out this message that I've been getting about the power of creation and manifestation using the number 3. It's been coming a lot. So I'm going to do 3 sets of 3. So I've got 3 pink quartz. Well, these are pink quartz hearts, and this is actually tiger's eye, which is a good luck, or cat's eye. This is a really good luck crystal for me. So, it's generally a good luck crystal. So I've got those 3, and then I've got 3 polished rose quartz. 3 rough or raw rose quartz. So I've got 9 rose quartz all together. So that's just sort of a general. And then also generally I wanted to have 3 pieces of angelite. So that's the angel crystal that calls in the angels. And then I'm going to go about, well, I've also got 3 good luck stones. These are tiger's eye and cat's eye. And those are all good luck stones. So I'm putting in 3 good luck stones. And now I'm going to put in, I generally always like to do a full course of chakra crystals. So I'm going to put in 3. This is a nice 6-sided amethyst. 3 amethyst. So here's a pretty one. And then here's a big raw piece. And so that's for the crown. And then for the third eye, so that I can hopefully see this stuff, this will help with sight, with psychic vision. This is sodalite. And then for my throat chakra, blue aventurine, it's good luck. And it's also a throat chakra stone. And then these beautiful moss agates, dark green crystals for heart chakra and prosperity. Yellow citrine, so happiness and joy crystal here for the solar plexus. And then this is red jasper, which is for the sacral chakra, and these are for good cheer. So, and I've been focusing on bringing good cheer because that seems to be something that we've got a little bit of a shortage of these days. So with our political climate, so good cheer. And then these 3, are grounding. They're brown crystals. This is goldstone. And then I think this is some kind of a feldspar, but I like that it's an arrow because I've received, or an arrowhead, I've received so much message about, in fact, I even bought a bow and arrow and started shooting. So I want to include this. And then this is a Merkaba, which is our light body. And this is a heart. So these are grounding crystals for the root chakra. And then I also want to put in these milky and clear quartz. So, or these are actually selenite. So here's 3 clear quartz. This amplifies all of this, as do the selenite. So I've got a selenite heart, a wand, and this little column. And selenite amplifies the energy of everything around it. Now these other crystals that I'm adding are just 2 butterflies for transformation, 2 stars for this is what we're made of, starlight, and what we are and hope. And then these crystals are little animal figurines that the ones that I'm putting in now represent people that I know, different people in my life who are of these particular astrological signs, Western astrology, Eastern astrology, and primal astrology. So I'm putting these in, and then also some of these are just animal totems for people that I know. And this one's me, so I'm a rabbit in Asian astrology, and then in Western astrology I'm a ram. And I can't find a llama. I need a llama because in primal astrology I'm a llama. And then I also wanted to put these in. This is a Ganesh. So it's a goldstone Ganesh. It's hard to make out, but he's the god who places and removes obstacles as you need them. This frog I'm going to put in because there was actually a frog in my house the other day, and I knew that was a sign from the universe, and it's a good sign. And then this turtle here for longevity. And so I've got everything in there now, and I'm going to move it over and put it back on the crystal grid. Okay, so now I've put the bowl with these particular crystals back on the grid, And I'm putting in this mature vulture feather and this baby vulture feather. These were signs that I recently received. And I'm putting this in the east, which is for wisdom, and then this on the west, the left side, for rebirth. And I'm going to let this all sit here until tonight when I try the scrying. So we'll just see what happens with it. And I think, yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say about that. Okay, so now what I've done is I've removed the crystals that I used during the solar eclipse today and the new moon. I removed those crystals from the bowl, and I brought the bowl to a table and put it on the Seed of Life grid, and the bowl has been filled almost to the brim with filtered water. And then I've surrounded it with 21 candles, 3 of each of the chakra colors. So it's the violet up here for the crown, and then over here is a dark blue for indigo for the third eye, and then a light blue for the throat, green candles for the heart chakra, yellow candles for the solar plexus, orange for the sacral, and then red for the root. And you can see the reflection of the candles in the water. And now it's nearly dusk, so dusk is a good time to try to scry if you're going to do it. And at this point, I'm using the directions from a website called sunsigns.org, and they say to add an activator. So, for example, salt, if you want to see images from this world, your own spit, if you want to see images from your own mind. One thing they didn't suggest, which is going to be the activator that I use, but this is my leftover moon water. So today my daughter and I drank some of this moon water. We thought about what it was we wanted to manifest. Today is a new moon plus the solar eclipse. So we drank 3 shots each of moon water and thought about what we wanted to manifest, and now I'm going to use what's remaining of it to activate the scrying bowl, and we will see what that nets us. Basically, the instructions from Sun Signs are to use these candles, 7 groups of 3 candles, around the bowl to fill it needs to be a dark bowl, filled nearly to the brim. You use whatever activator you want. And then you take 10 deep breaths. So it's the basic yoga breaths where you breathe in through your nose as deeply as you can and then exhale through your mouth. And as you do that, you let your focus go blurry on the surface of the water and just sort of come in and out of focus. And then with your eyes about half closed but not squinting. And then at the end of that, you just keep your eyes focused on the surface of the water and see what you see. So I'm going to turn off the camera and do the scrying now and see if I get anything. Okay. I will let you know. Okay, so this is the post-scrying report. And to do the scrying, what I did was, first of all, I turned off the overhead lights, and then I did it at dusk. So for about a half hour as dusk turned into night. And mainly what happened is when I relaxed my focus, the light from the candles turned into long beams. And because there were so many candles here, it was really just gorgeous. And that was pretty. And then as I kept that sort of half focus, I could see rainbow colors in that light, and it was very pretty. Now, in terms of seeing other worlds, I didn't actually look at the surface of the water and on the surface of the water see. It wasn't as though there was a TV screen on the surface of the water. It didn't look like that. What happened was more like the kind of thing that happens in a shamanic journey, where you see things in your mind's eye, but you're not seeing things in the room, but you're seeing things in your mind's eye. So I'm thinking that having that kind of a relaxed focus maybe changes your brainwave state so that you can access those brain waves that allow you into your subconscious, or I doubt your superconscious. That seems to be a little bit harder to do, but I do think that that's part of what likely happened. Now, what did I see in my mind's eye? Well, I saw, honestly, this sort of classic cloaked figure of death on a winter plain in England, and a crow. So it was basically death, and that depiction of death. And that was fine. I mean, that kind of thing doesn't scare me. I just view death as a transition. So I was not frightened by this, and I thought, well, it is a time apparently of transition. In my life, I've been told this quite a bit, so I'm curious to see how the rest of the year shapes up. I probably should get a chart run. I haven't done that. So I saw that, and I thought, okay, well, that's consistent with the message I've been getting. And then as I lingered, I saw what emerged in my mind's eye was cloaked figures, 4 of them male, and I think they were druids. And I don't know anything at all about druids. I'm not really sure if I'm down with druids or not. So I'm going to have to research druids to see what I think about them. They're probably just fine, but I really don't know. But that's what I felt like I was seeing, was 4 men. They seemed large and imposing figures in hoods. And my sense of who they were was that they were druids. And what I had read was that when you scry, you open up a view onto another world, another dimension, and that whoever's there can see back. And I thought, well, if there's anybody who's likely to be scrying, it's going to be a group of druid priests. I mean, they seem like exactly the kind of people who would be scrying. So I'm thinking that there are some druid priests at some past time in history who got a look at me, and I'm like, okay, they must have thought that was pretty weird. But so that was, the other time that I had done scrying, I saw absolutely not one thing. So I didn't really understand about sort of just letting your mind drift and letting your mind just take its trip with it, which is, I think, really what it's probably all about. So, I mean, there may be other people who do this who are, I don't know, able to actually discern more from the actual surface of the water. But for me, it was more an act of just sort of focusing in and out on the candlelight running across the surface of the water, which was a very relaxing thing to do. It was very meditative. And just to see what images sort of emerged from the light and the shadows in between. And it was these druids. So I'll probably try it again at some point. So that was my scrying experience on the night of the solar eclipse and the new moon. As it turns out, the scrying was just the first step of what it was that I was to understand from that journey. I do not know what compelled me to do this on the night of the eclipse and the Leo new moon, but I do think it was a very powerful time. And as I mentioned before, what I first saw in that 30 minutes that I was doing the scrying was I saw the Grim Reaper with the black crow on a plane, and I had the feeling that it was Britain. And then towards the end of the session, I saw 4 hooded figures, and I felt as though they were druids. The initial impression or understanding that I had of this was that they were in another dimension, and you know that there is no such thing as time. Earthlings believe there's this thing called time because in this soul school there is such a thing. But in real reality, on the other side, everything exists all at once. And pretty much every possibility, every choice that could be made is a different path of experience. All these paths exist. It's incomprehensible to the little human mind. To spirit, it's normal. But it's vast. It's vast. The range of experience of the little bead of consciousness that you are is vast. So I just thought that what it was is there's this other dimension where these druids are, and I thought, well, okay, they're there and they're looking back at me. Because if anybody's going to be scrying or trying to look into another dimension, it's going to be somebody like a druid. And I thought, all right, well, I'm not worried about it because I'm here, in, the year 2017 in America. I'm really not concerned about these druids looking at me. I didn't think a thing of it. So I walked away with that. Well, 4 or 5 nights later, I did a crystal and vibrational healing. So basically what I did was used crystals on my chakras, laid crystals out, and listened to singing bowls and gongs. And I find that I very, very readily can go into other brainwave patterns when I listen to music, and especially shamanic drumming, rattles, gongs, and singing bowls. I just can immediately go. I'm not sure what brainwave pattern it is, but it's one where I can access other dimensions readily, because when it happens, I see, I just go on journeys. I basically am a prolific shamanic journeyer. It's a very easy thing for me to do. It's like I'm made for it. And I think part of it might be that I'm a musician. Musicians apparently, and I guess it's because we work with the invisible. What we create is invisible. And I know for myself personally that the inspirations for it come from some other dimensional plane because they just kind of zap into my head. So there's this openness about our awareness that is connected to other dimensions, and it's part of the music making process, I think. But I had read that musicians typically do better on psychic tests than other people, and I think probably because we're so used to working with the invisible. But I did this event, and immediately when the crystal bowls started, I am the singing bowls. Basically what happened was Jesus showed up. Jesus is my wise being, and he's with me often. He visits me often. And we walked together, and I also kept seeing dogwood blossom. And I have never, in all the years that I have been studying spirituality, I've never had any kind of an interaction of any kind with dogwood blossom. So that was a first. But I do know that because it's the state flower for where I live in Virginia, I do know that its symbolic significance is that it represents the crucifixion. It's a cross. And it looks like a Celtic cross too, the Gaelic cross, because it's even. It's not got a long bottom, it's 4 even sides. It's what this blossom looks like. And it represents the crucifixion and resurrection. So I kept seeing the dogwood blossom. Jesus walked quite a bit with me, and sometimes he would be really big like angels are. Like angels are super duper tall. And he would sometimes be tall like that, and I would feel like a little child. And other times he would be regular human size, and we just walked arm in arm. This is what was weird. Sometimes he would dissolve into me. So he would just like dissolve into me, and I would be like, okay, well, I like it better when you're outside me giving me a hug. But that kept happening. When I journey, I don't question it. I just let it go. So I saw again, I had a vision of a plane. Now before that though, actually, I did see 2 other kinds of flowers. I saw pink and white cherry blossoms, and they would float on the breeze and then land on a slow water, like a brown, slow moving water. And then also I was in a courtyard that had a wall, and it had pink and white hydrangeas along the wall, and it was grassy. That's what I saw. Next, I saw a round structure with no ceiling. It was a stone structure in a field at night. And again, I had the feeling that it was Britain. And I thought, well, that looks like an observatory. So I went over to it and looked at it, but I did not see any equipment in it. And it had more the feel of something very olden. And so I next had a sense of moving through a dark hallway. Even though the structure stood by itself out in the middle of a field, I had a sense of moving through a dark hall. Then I saw the structure again, and there was an altar in the middle of it. And then I realized why I saw the Druids and why I saw death. I was on that altar, and they put a knife into my jugular. And it also helped me to understand why Jesus kept dissolving into me. So I was sacrificed. I was a Druid sacrifice. I was like, okay, duh. So, you know, when I did the scrying, it didn't occur to me to sort of put the clues together. And it's like, okay, the first thing you're seeing is the Grim Reaper. Might we be looking at one of your past life deaths? It just didn't occur to me at all. Another very interesting confirmation of what this was is the night before I did this vibrational healing is what I'll call it, with the gong and the singing bowl. My right here hurt like crazy. So the night before I was at my computer typing, and it started to hurt right here like somebody had punched me really hard or kicked me, and I'm like, wow, that feels really sore. And I just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, what? I didn't do anything. I didn't eat anything different. I just couldn't figure out. I didn't yell. I didn't have any reason for this to hurt, and I just couldn't understand it. The next night I understood it. I took a knife there. In some past life, I was murdered, by a knife to the throat and sacrificed. And so I have to say, I found that all quite fascinating. So when I did the scrying, I had no idea that what would wind up happening is that I would discover another one of my past lives. And also in discovering it, hopefully I would take some movement towards healing the wound of that past life. Dr. Brian Weiss, who many consider to be they'll call him the father of reincarnation, but he's a Yale-educated MD who is a psychiatrist and who stumbled upon past lives. He has regressed many, many thousands of patients at this point into past lives, because what he has found is that when you can take a patient back to the past life in which the wound occurred, from which they are still carrying the energy that's causing them a symptom that they don't like in this lifetime, if you can regress them to it safely and let them see it, they can release it and they can be freed. And so one of the things that I have found very interesting is that I have never been a singer who can belt it out. I just can't. It's not there. It hurts. It hurts me to sing loud. So I sing quietly and softly. And and for most of my life, I didn't sing at all. And I just started singing in 2012. The end of 2012 is when I started singing. So I have an answer for that. And it was that particular past life. And I'm just really floored by it. It definitely wasn't what I was seeking. I was really pretty just like wide open and like, well, let's see what happens if I try to scry. Because I had tried it once many years ago and nothing happened. So, I mean, like absolutely nothing. Now that was before I had learned how to work with my third eye vision. Now I'm very practiced at working with my third eye vision. And I sleep with 15 crystals under my pillow every night. And several of these pillows, not pillows, but crystals, are designed to increase psychic attunement. So, and some of them, honestly, one of them I sleep with a crystal called Unakite, Unakite, under my pillow because it came to me in a dream. I saw it in a dream and I thought, well, all right, I better go get some of that. And also I sleep with a crystal called Apatite, Apatite. Both of those are psychic awareness crystals. They develop your abilities. And there are many others that I sleep with, 15 altogether. But new past life, discovery, and really, I think a probably super important one. So I guess I will be doing scrying again. That wound up being very beneficial. It took some time for me to understand it. It took another step down the path and another spiritual approach tied in with it for me to get the full story. But I got it. And it really couldn't be more fascinating. I will say this for those who have a great deal of fear about undertaking anything new and weird like scrying or shamanic journeying or anything like that that frightens you, just to be blunt about it, the Druid guys who killed me, I mean, this was a long time ago, hundreds of years ago. I'm only accessing them through my third eye vision and the use of a scrying bowl. They are not going to jump out of that scrying bowl and come get me. So I'm perfectly safe. And that's why my subconscious allowed me to see this. Your subconscious will protect you from anything that's truly harmful. So, for example, one of the things that I've dreamt about is I've seen myself in a circle of light, and at the edge of the circle of light there are demons. And I'm just kind of like, you can hang out there all you want, fellas, because I know you can't hurt me. And I just don't have any fear of it. Seeing it and knowing about it doesn't create fear in me. So you're not going to be shown anything that you can't handle safely. Your subconscious takes care of you when it reveals these secrets about, your truth and your history. So it's really okay to move forward. You'll only be given as much as you can handle. So I'll be doing scrying again, and we'll report back on what happens with that. Now I'll probably tie it to some interesting moon cycle, so it's not anything I'm going to be doing right away. What I'm going to be doing right away is working on music. I've got a studio day coming up, so I'll be doing that. But I wanted to go ahead and finish this out because I just learned this and it was just really fascinating. So yes, I recommend scrying, and the method that I used seemed to work very well. So good luck with your journeying.